You ever feel like your own behavior is, well, a bit of a mystery? Like you're kind of stuck in a loop and you just can't seem to get out of it? Well, today we're going to unpack a really powerful set of ideas that are all about breaking that cycle. We're going to build a framework, a new mindset that helps make you truly unstoppable. So let's get into it. So the source material we're digging into gives us 7 powerful ideas for becoming unstoppable. Now, to make these really easy to grab onto and use right away, we've boiled them down into 4 core pillars. Think of these as your foundational blueprint for getting started. Let's jump into the first one. Our first pillar is all about your inputs. And the big idea here is, well, it's that how we feel and what we do isn't just random. Our outputs, so our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, they're a direct result of our inputs. It's a super powerful equation, and honestly, it's one we forget about all the time. We've all heard that old saying, you are what you eat, right? But the source material just expands on this so brilliantly. I want you to imagine that your senses are constantly, and I mean constantly, feeding information to your mind. Everything you see, everything you hear, even what you smell, it's all shaping you, mostly on a subconscious level. And this right here, this perfectly illustrates that split. Your conscious mind, it's a total pro at ignoring things, like the clutter building up on your desk. But your subconscious, oh, it misses nothing. It's taking it all in 24/7. It's registering that messy space and that constant low-level input. It's draining your mode and your energy, whether you even realize it or not. So this brings us to a really powerful, super simple question. When was the last time you consciously chose to change your inputs for the better? When did you trade the blue light of your phone for, say, the green of a leaf? Because ultimately, the quality of your inputs is what determines the quality of your life. And that is the whole power of this first pillar. Okay, so once you start managing your inputs, the next move is to channel that new energy into action. And that brings us to our second pillar, the joy of stretching. And look, this isn't about miserable, grueling work. It's about completely reframing what effort means, seeing it as the deep satisfaction that only comes from growth. So the source points out that we usually fail at building new habits in one of 2 ways. First, we get totally infatuated with an idea. We buy all the fancy gym gear, and then we quit the second it gets hard. Or on the flip side, we're so jaded from failing before that we think, what's the point, and we never even start. Either way, both mindsets lead you to the exact same place, absolutely nowhere. But here's the mental shift. The source tells us to stop focusing on the pain of the work and instead focus on the feeling after the work is done. Just imagine it for a second. You finally finish that hard thing you've been putting off. You're tired, for sure, but you're just sitting there with this quiet, deep feeling of victory. That feeling, that's the real reward. That's the proof that the stretch was worth it. And this is where the magic really starts to compound. One small victory is great, but when you start stacking them, it fundamentally changes who you are. Your posture literally changes. Your eye contact changes. You're not just checking boxes. You're building a brand new story for yourself, a story of persistence. You're proving to your own subconscious that you can grow. You're building a real growth mindset, one small, victorious stretch at a time. Okay, on to pillar number 3. This is where we start to get really strategic. So, you're managing your inputs, you're embracing the joy of the stretch. Now it's time to focus all that energy where it's going to count the most. This is all about finding your highest leverage, which is the key to being truly effective. So what do we even mean by leverage? Well, it's a really simple but critical idea. Not all work is created equal. A few key actions, and I mean just a few, often produce the vast majority of the results you're after. Being unstoppable isn't about doing more stuff. It's about doing more of the right stuff. The source gives us a perfect personal example here. For him, the one thing that has the highest impact is making videos. Now, could he paint a windowsill? Sure, it's productive, right? It feels like you're getting something done. But it's a super low leverage task compared to the one thing that actually moves the needle. And we all do this. We pick the easy, productive task to avoid the difficult, important one. So here is the game plan for maximizing your leverage. It's beautifully simple. First, you've got to identify your number 1 most important task. Then, you literally engineer your environment to make doing that thing as easy and enjoyable as you can. At the same exact time, you identify your single biggest time waster. and you make it as difficult and inconvenient as possible to do it. It's this two-sided approach that lets you design your life for maximum impact. And now for our final pillar. And honestly, this one is the foundation that holds everything else up. It's called Stop Running, Start Building. This is all about the radical act of self-acceptance, not as the finish line, but as the absolute, non-negotiable starting line for any real change. This is such a critical insight from the source. You can have the best plans, the best strategies in the world, but if that voice inside your head is constantly attacking you, constantly criticizing you, you will sabotage every bit of your progress. It's just a fact. Hating yourself into becoming a better person, it just doesn't work. So many of us are running on this flawed belief, and a lot of the time, we don't even know it. We think, if I can just get that promotion, or if I just lose the weight, or if I finish this big project, then I'll finally be worthy. We're trying to earn our own self-worth through our achievements, but that puts us on a treadmill that never, ever stops. So the alternative the source gives us is it's incredibly powerful. It's about looking at where you are right now, with all your flaws, all your past mistakes, and looking at it without judgment and just saying, okay, I got you, buddy. Accepting it. And then from that place of partnership with yourself, you ask, all right, now where do we go from here? You stop being your own worst enemy and you start being your own greatest ally. So there you have it, the 4 pillars of an unstoppable mindset. And you can see how it all works together, right? You start by changing your inputs to improve your state of mind. You use that better state to find the joy in stretching your abilities. You apply leverage to focus that effort where it really matters. And you build the whole thing on this unshakable foundation of self-acceptance. It's a complete system for growth that just keeps going. But look, this isn't just about listening to some cool ideas. It's about taking action. So my final question for you is this. Looking at these 4 pillars, what is the one small, concrete change you're going to make today to start building your own unstoppable momentum? Because the journey doesn't start tomorrow. It starts with that one single step.